Put an end to everything. If your vehicle has more than 50,000 kilometers on it, you're going to find out what errors are now killing it. And no, these are not inevitable failures. Rather, they are daily actions or inactions that are gradually depleting your engine without your knowledge. In Italy, 78% of cars perish before 180,000 kilometers not by accident, but rather due to ignorance. Additionally, you're most likely committing at least 3 of these deadly errors. There are 7 secrets that, if you know them, can help your automobile surpass 500,000 kilometers, but neither mechanics nor automakers will ever tell you. One relates to a filter that has never changed. Another is a practice that you believe to be wise but is gradually ruining your engine. Manufacturers and mechanics don't want you to know, but you're going to learn about them all. And believe me when I say that the quiet killer that has destroyed more engines in Europe is number 1. I've had conversations with more than 50 mechanics during the past 10 years. Not the cunning ones who swap out your air filter only to please you. I'm referring to the extremely small number of honest mechanics who will tell you the truth, even if it doesn't benefit them. You know what they told me, too? All cars that die too soon have one thing in common. It's how they are handled, not the brand or the model. Prepare for the astounding truth that engines now typically last 150,000 kilometers. How long did they endure in the 1990s? 300,000 or even 400,000 kilometers. Is it a coincidence? No, plan. Even though today's engines are more compact, stressed, and strained, they still require an oil change every 20,000 kilometers. They deceive to us and make us think the engine is clean while the workshops fill up. But enough is enough now. I share the 7 true secrets, the ones that nobody tells you in this video. Just facts, data, and solutions that, when put into practice, can save you €15,000 over the next 10 years and prolong the life of your automobile well beyond 500,000 kilometers. No foreign platitudes or salesman's advice. Let's get started now. Starting with the least hazardous. We will work our way up to the first, the quiet killer that has wrecked more engines than anything else. You'll be enraged when you get to it, I promise. Stay close to the screen if your automobile has more than 50,000 kilometers on it and is powered by petrol or diesel. What you are about to learn could literally save your engine. The error you commit during maintenance. Do you believe that having new oil entails changing the oil? Incorrect. Every time you service, you think, perfect, fresh oil. The engine thanks me, but you're lying to yourself because the mechanic only drains 80% of the old oil. The other 20% remains in the sump and mixes with the new. The outcome? You still have 60,000 kilometers of unclean oil inside after 3 maintenance. It seems ridiculous, doesn't it? Yet, that's exactly what happens if you don't do one fundamental thing, the oil circuit flush. Are you aware of what it is? A really easy process. Prior to the oil change, a unique additive is added. Sludge, carbon residues, dirt, and metallic microparticles are all evacuated when the engine has run at idle for 10 minutes. You prolong the engine's life by 30%. The engine is appreciative, and the new oil remains clean for longer. And now the part that infuriates you. Are you aware of the price of this flush? An additional €30. Yes, you got it right. €30. Why then does no mechanic suggest it to you? Simply put, they find it inconvenient. Your chances of returning to the workshop with further issues, such as gaskets, injectors, DPF, or anomalous consumption, increase as your oil deteriorates. The business goes on even when the engine gets dusty and wears out. Are you curious in what mechanics perform to their own vehicles or those of their relatives? The flush is always done by them. Conversely, you depend on the standard prompt €100 service. You pay later, but you save today. If you're thinking, okay, but I'll do it the next service, hold off until you learn the next secret. It has to do with a filter that 95% of drivers are unaware of, and when it fails, the engine begins to burn oil. Nobody ever modifies the filter. Quit. Give an honest response in the comments section before continuing. Are you familiar with the PCV filter? No, calm down, very few people do. It is one of your engine's biggest silent killers because of this. Nobody talks to you about the PCV, but everyone talks about the oil filter, air filter, fuel filter, and maybe even the cabin filter to demonstrate their expertise. Are you aware of its functions? It is the filter for the positive crankcase ventilation system. By recycling oil vapors, it keeps them out of the intake system. Everything is good as long as it functions, but the nightmare starts when it becomes clogged. No one knows why, but the engine begins to burn oil, blue smoke emerges from the exhaust, consumption rises, and gaskets begin to leak. What will the mechanic tell you? It's normal. After a while, you have to redo the engine. According to fault of the oil, maybe it was poor quality. Untrue. The little €15 filter, which needs to be changed every 60,000 kilometers but is seldom checked, not even in official workshops, is frequently the true issue. Are you aware of the reason? It is best to ignore it until the car starts burning 1 liter of oil every 1,000 kilometers because replacing it takes time and cannot be completed in 5 minutes. What is the worst thing, do you know? A lot of mechanics have no idea where it is. Would you like to take a test? Ask about the PCV filter the next time you bring your vehicle to the service. Observe their face. You know the solution if you observe a bewildered expression. The next one, however, is even more sneaky, so get ready. It's possible that you signed your car's death sentence last week without realizing it. The next one will completely perplex you because all you've done thus far to conserve money might be the exact cause of your car's demise. Never use economy mode while driving. You're going to jump out of your seat when I tell you this. Sometimes you have to mistreat your car in order to prolong its life. Yes, you got it right. They persuaded you that driving slowly equates to conserving money, which is why your engine is slowly dying. This soft driving, always below 2,000 revolutions per minute, is what you consider to be a decent motorist. Untrue. Modern engines are built to operate in dynamic regimes and at high temperatures. They will never reach the proper temperature if you keep them low RPM, gentle accelerations, and high gears all the time. As a result, residues build up, the engine gradually begins to choke, the particulate filter clogs, the EGR valve becomes clogged, the turbo never spins at the proper speed, and by the time you realize it, it's too late. Let me give you an illustration. A gentleman I met possessed a Giulietta. He drove at 1,800 revolutions per minute in 5th gear, as if he were a retiree. After 60,000 kilometers, the turbo was whistling, the DPF was blocked, and the EGR needed to be changed. What could he have done to prevent that, do you know? Only once a month, on a motorway, in 3rd or 4th gear, for 10 minutes at 4,000 revolutions per minute. The engine breathes, the turbo unblocks, the exhaust empties, and automatic cleaning takes place. Rather, they advise you to drive slowly. You consume less. You spend €2,000 on repairs, even though you consume less. Put your driving style in the comment section. Do you let out occasionally, or are you always in economy? The automobile is killed by the top-ups. I'll share a real story with you. Fiat Marco. The coolant light comes on one summer day while driving on the highway. As the temperature rises, he stops at the rest area, goes into the first store, and purchases a can, tops up, different color, and different liquid. After 3 weeks, the engine is seized, the cylinder head needs to be replaced, and the gaskets blow. Damage was €2,400. Are you aware of the error? Combining 2 coolants that are incompatible. Many individuals do this, frequently without realizing it, because it may seem insignificant. I just need to add a little liquid, but you're actually building a chemical bomb underneath. An invisible phenomenon occurs when red antifreeze is combined with blue or yellow and green. Sludge is formed as the liquid thickens and interacts. Are you aware of its destination? Corrosion starts in the pumps, the circuit channels, and the radiator. It's too late when you realize that the gaskets have swelled and then collapsed. This is the €12 error that has the potential to cost you €2,000. Not only does this apply to antifreeze, but it also applies to engine oil, brake fluid, and power steering fluid. You should never mix different brands and specifications without expertise. How many of you have completed the task? If you have a car with more than 100,000 kilometers on it today, and you or a knowledgeable friend have tampered with it, you may have already lit the fuse. Please be honest in the comments. I'm not trying to pass judgment. However, The next secret will infuriate you even more because it involves bad faith. Nobody provides you the €10 secret that can save your engine. The deadly gap. Manufacturers deceive you. I will now demonstrate to you that Mercedes, BMW, Audi, Fiat, and Renault all deceive you, and they do so in writing in the handbook. Let open. Verify whether they recommend changing the oil every 15,000, 20,000, or even 30,000 kilometers. Excellent. Pay close attention now. It's a trap. The suggested interval was 5,000 kilometers or up to 7,500 kilometers during the 1980s and 1990s, when engines were more resilient and simpler. Additionally, they advise us to wait 3 times longer because modern engines are smaller, have turbos, and operate at extremely high pressures. Doesn't that make no sense? But why does it still happen? They want the engine to expire at 150,000, not 80,000, as that would be too early. I'll tell you right away, it's better to change it. It's old now. Furthermore, are you aware of the smoking gun? Toyota. The official maintenance schedules for taxis reduce the oil interval to 6,000 kilometers. Not 6,000, not 20,000, not 15,000. Are you aware of the reason? Since they are aware that doing so at 15,000 kilometers will kill the engine. They are aware of it. However, they convey a different message. Is obsolescence a deliberate strategy or just a coincidence? Take a moment to reflect. Why does Toyota, which has one of the strongest reputations in the industry, suggest 15,000 kilometers for your average automobile if they cut the interval in half for taxis? Because in this manner, the engine begins to miss, the filter clogs, the oil deteriorates, the turbo operates under stress, the valves become clogged, and you don't notice anything until you hear an odd noise. Visit the workshop, and they tell you, engine needs to be redone. Everything was planned, including the long mileage oil. Tell us how often you change the oil in the comments. Have you figured out how to use your brain, or do you just follow the instructions? No one provides you the engine cleaner. I'll now explain why some mechanics grin when they see black smoke emanating from your exhaust. They already know what will happen, which makes them happy. No, they won't stop it. In fact, it will benefit them. Are you aware that the entire fuel system may be cleaned with €10 additives? Intake ducts, injectors, EGR valves, and even the valve seats. 70% of the most prevalent issues go away with one treatment every 10,000 kilometers. How many mechanics have suggested it to you, though? None, correct? Are you aware of the reason? Because a clean car doesn't generate revenue. An automobile doesn't go back to the workshop if it doesn't smoke, lose power, or have obstructions. They let you continue in this manner with an EGR valve that becomes increasingly clogged, an injector that becomes less accurate, and a turbocharger that overworks to make up for it, until one day a light goes out due to a power outage. You go to the workshop and are informed, we have to change everything, €1,800. However, are you aware of the irony? 20 minutes of work and €10 of additive would have prevented that failure. And believe me, I'm enraged by this. The product is available and functional, but they refuse to sell it to you because it's not planned, we don't sell it, or it's not mandatory. It's merely smart, of course. It's not required. Please mention in the comments if you visited the workshop and were required to replace injectors or EGR valves. Tell me how much you spent and whether you were ever offered an additional. Hold on tight, though, because the following one will make you question everything. Here, I provide proof that manufacturers are lying to you. You are reading a falsehood each time you open the handbook for your vehicle. However, everything you have heard thus far pales in comparison to the following secret. Therefore, this is the most crucial part of the film. Heat is the invisible adversary, the silent murderer. Heat is the greatest killer. Heat is your engine's biggest enemy, not old oil, wear and tear, or the turbo. Yes, exactly that. The heat that builds up each time you switch off the vehicle after a journey. The heat that gets trapped in the engine, cooks the parts, and kills sensors, turbos, and gaskets while you think nothing is wrong. This is a startling fact. The engine's lifespan is cut in half for every 10 degrees increase beneath the hood. Halves. And are you aware of the issue with contemporary automobiles? They have no cooling margin, tiny fans, and undersized radiators. Why? Because they must be inexpensive, lightweight, and consume little. Thus, you end up with an automobile that performs well. Stop at the rest area, turn off the engine at 90 degrees, and leave everything there to cook until you go on a summer trip. The turbo fails, the map sensor burns out, the gaskets crack, and your car dies after 100, 200, or 300 of these incidents. However, there is an affordable solution. A larger radiator costs 80 euros, while an additional or enhanced fan costs 50 euros. A free app to monitor the actual temperature. 130 euros in total. Additionally, you have an engine that can travel 500,000 kilometers without melting anything. What do rally car tuners do? After a race, they know that cooling is more vital than accelerating, so they leave the car running at idle for 2 minutes. Drivers who follow their instincts switch automobiles every 5 years, whereas those who follow their intellect cool down first. We're going to close the loop, so pay close attention now. I'll summarize everything that happened today that will permanently alter how you handle your car in the next minute. Recap. You found that poor habits, ignorance, and quiet are the true murderers of your engine, not kilometers. The 3 most frequent fatal errors are ignoring the engine temperature and letting everything cook day after day without realizing it, never cleaning the internal circuit, oil, valves, and injectors get dirty and then explode, and blindly following the manual, which tells you 15,000 kilometers but condemns you to planned death. You can no longer act as though it doesn't matter because you now know. It's not what the salesmen tell you that prolongs the car's life, but rather what they don't tell you. The golden rule is to do what works rather than what they advise. Subscribe now if this video has prevented you from making even one mistake. I bring you content every week that no one is brave enough to share with you. Actual facts, hidden traps, and mechanical mysteries. For example, if you were aware of at least one error you had made, share this video with anyone who owns a car with more than 100,000 kilometers on it, and let us know which point most surprised you. You could practically save their engine, and all the tools and products I personally use are listed in the description.